Yes, in this class, we will talk about Doris Lessing's The Golden Notebook. It is a 1962 novel, you know, and here in this novel, we have two main characters, Anna and her closest friend, Molly Jacobs. And here in this novel, first we will talk about it's kind of an introduction. So we will talk about the general structure of the novel. Then we will dive into the novel. And here in this novel, Anna and her closest friend Molly Jacobs are two main figures, two main women characters in the novel. And here in the novel, the fragmentation of the world and the mind emerge as the driving forces in the novel. So the plot revolves around Anna's own mental breakdown, Anna Wolf's own mental breakdown, and she writes endlessly about her deep fear of insanity in 4 different notebooks in different colors. These different notebooks cover 4 different aspects of her life: her past, black notebook; her politics, red; her fiction, yellow; and her present, blue. And none of the notebook captured her identity. None of the notebooks captures her identity, and she writes everything in single golden notebook. She achieves a sense of unity and purpose by confronting the chaos within herself and refusing the partition of her mind. And she chooses to write in the different notebooks. We can understand that identity is never simple or coherent. It is a kind of chaotic situation. Identity is chaotic, and it is kind of multiple, in fact. So we can say that identity is never simple or coherent, but rather it is the result of varied and often contradictory experiences and attitudes that make up any life. So identity results from the varied or often contradictory experiences and attitudes that make up any life. We can understand that if we want to give an example about this, many characters have two different names in the novel, and many same names refer to different characters in the novel. So the implication is that nobody can ever be a single thing. So the characters in the novel have two different names, and many same named characters refer to different characters. So we can understand that the words in the novel, the words fail to capture reality. So words cannot capture reality. Then the language breaks down in the novel. And Anna, as our main character, she must stop dividing up her cows. She tries to divide up her cows into different notebooks, but she must give up this. She must stop dividing up her cows and keeping it into herself. Instead of this, she needs to confront the chaos in her mind. And she confronted by writing all her thoughts together in one place. In the first part, she prefers to divide her thoughts into different notebooks, but then she gave up, and she prefers to reveal her thoughts to the world. So the writer Doris Lessing tries to show that everyone is multiple and chaotic. Everyone is multiple and chaotic from the outset, and it suggests that breakdown is not the opposite of wholeness. So breakdown and wholeness are not opposite of each other. It's kind of a vehicle to it. So the Golden Notebook refers to unification of identity, if unification is kind of possible. So Lessing tries to show us that everyone is multiple and chaotic in itself. So in It is strange and unhealthy for anyone to let themselves be defined by a single thing. We cannot define ourselves not by our jobs or by our marriage or relationship. It's not possible and it's unhealthy, in fact. So we shouldn't be defined by a single thing, a single identity. And we can say that the black notebook refers to the time she spent in Africa in her past, and the red notebook refers to her ambivalent relationship with the British Communist Party. And the yellow notebook is a novel, mirrors her own relationship in London. And the blue notebook is a kind of personal diary, we can say this. At the beginning of the novel, we said that it begins with a kind of cracking up. If you remember, we talk about this cracking up. Everything is cracking, she says. Everything is cracking. So here, everything is cracking. And this cracking up points at once her mental breakdown throughout the novel. And the book itself is also cracked up. We can say that book itself is cracked up. And the book structure and it's in division between free women and the notebooks. Not just Anna, but also the book itself. The book structure itself is also cracked up. And in the novel, the general problem, we can say that the general problem of inadequacy of language influences the different parts of life and oneself. So inadequacy of language, it affects different parts of life, we can say it. And also, there is a language problem, as we talked about this before. There is a language problem in the novel, and words lose their meanings, and the fragmentation of reality is subject matter. And also we can say that Anna is a writer, and her notebooks are what she writes instead of her novels. And all of notebooks contain comments on writing and her life as a writer. All of the notebooks contain comments on writing and her life as a writer. And in the yellow notebooks, drafts and trials for Anna's new fiction. It is her fiction as a writer. And also we can say that the whole novel can be read as a postmodernist meta narrative. I mean, the golden notebook part, not the whole novel. The golden notebook part can be read as postmodernist novel, not the whole one. And instead of meta narrative, we have minor narratives in this part, and golden notebook, I mean. So the plurality of selves is subject matter, not wholeness. So the novel is eclectic, it is heterogeneous. The novel is eclectic and heterogeneous. And we can say that the setting of the novel reflects the attitudes of 1950s, but it was published in 1962. And the novel deconstructs the language as an endeavor to search for meaning and truth. The novel deconstruct language as an endeavor to search for meaning and truth. If we want to talk about the themes of the novel, we can say that there is fragmentation versus the break and unity, and also we have gender, labor, and power. And also we have a love and sex conflict. And also we have communism and disillusionment about communism. And we have action, freedom, and moral courage conflict. And we have fact, fiction, and authorship. So the novel has a kind of complex structure, we can say. And there is a tension between love and lust. So it has a complex structure, we can say. And Doris Lessing's character, if we want to talk about love, Doris Lessing characters often approach romance through their own needs and anxieties. And when they find serious love, they manage to heal themselves in a way they couldn't have done alone. So here, love has a kind of power for her characters, for Lessing characters. And also, we can say that Anna and her lovers relationship is an example of this at the same time. You know, they write the Golden Notebook together, and they heal each other in a way. And she managed to write her novels. You know, she has a kind of writer's block, and she managed to write her new novel with the help of the love she lives. Okay, then, um, when we want to talk about Anna's relationship to politics and communism, we can say that her relationship to communism is ambivalent, and she agrees with the communist idea in theory, but she finds it difficult to support in practice. So she has an ambivalent relationship with communism. And most of Anna's socialist friends in Africa, they realize that they can do nothing about colonial racism. And Anna and Molly's final ambivalent political stances in Free Women suggest that they were still disappointed by the death of the communist hope for a kind of radically transformed society, but still managed to find more realistic, limited ways to affect the change. So there is this illusionment about communism in the novel. And Anna's search for freedom in large parts is a kind of struggle to define herself rather than letting predetermined roles, myths, and chance define her fate. So there's a search here in the novel, a search for freedom. Anna realized that art has lost its meaning and that action is the only thing that can heal the world. And Anna's moral vision of an equal society is so distant from reality. And she sees that she just simply gives up this idea of an equal society. By writing a novel about a novelist and her novels, Lessing comments extensively on the relationship between fact and fiction and the artist and her work. And Free Women is actually Anna's second novel, what initially looks like fact. It is revealed as fiction. The novel in the Yellow Notebook is not a reflection of facts in Free Women, but a kind of preparatory sketch for it. And Frontiers of War, which is an adaptation of her novel, is an adaptation of her time in Africa. And Anna finds the British Communist Party unnecessarily dogmatic, and she's stuck in the past, the British Communist Party, and unable to cope with communism's transformation. The British communism cannot cope with the transformation in communism in general in the world. And also, the British Communist Party unable to cope with communism transformation into a kind of authoritarian terror in Soviet Union. And Soviet leader Stalin, he ruthlessly persecuted his political enemies, including many inside the Communist Party, and executes hundreds and thousands of people and sending millions to prison camps in Siberia. And when these kind of rumors are openly confirmed after Stalin's death, the Communist Party broke down through the West, where it is already clear that revolution, in fact, didn't occur. So these problems about the Communist Party affect people's ideas and trust about the Communist Party in general. And we can say that the major theme of breakdown and the theme of unity, uh, especially the theme of unity, has its victory over the theme of breakdown. And in the fifth gold-colored notebook, we see the victory of unity. The theme of unity has its victory over breakdown. And Anna finally is capable of writing a novel as in one piece, not to diffuse into four aspects. She managed to write a notebook, a novel. And here in the novel, men are shown like unfaithful. You know, we talk about this. This book is accepted as a kind of Bible for second wave of feminism. And so here there is a man and women conflict in the novel. And men in the novel are shown like unfaithful and polygamous, unsatisfactory, and rude to their wives. And they are unable to give pleasure. They are bullying women. They are selfish and indifferent to their children. So there is a negative depiction of male figures in general. And the frame of the novel is a kind of a short novel, a realistic narrative of lives of Molly and Anna. We said there is a frame novel, which is at the beginning. It's a kind of short novel, a realistic narrative of lives of Molly and Anna and their children, their ex-husbands and lovers. So these parts are like free women, and it is the frame novel. And it could stand by itself. The free women parts could stand by itself. And it is divided into 5 sections. The free women part is divided into 5 sections, and they are separated by the stories of Anna's 4 notebooks. And she separates them. She separates this notebook out of fear of chaos. She's she's afraid of the chaos and formlessness and also the breakdown. And each notebook is returned to 4 times. Each notebook is returned to 4 times and intermixed with episodes from Free Women. So it creates a non-chronological and overlapping sections that interact with one another. So the form of the novel elaborates the theme of breakdown, and it helps us to understand Anna's attempt to stay sane. She is afraid of going mad, and she tries to stay sane by dividing up the notebooks. And this Anna's attempt to stay sane in a world that seems to be falling apart. So the world is seems to be falling apart, and Anna tries to stay sane. And Lessing's despair of writing a conventional novel. We can observe this. And Free Women is a kind of conventional novel, and it is the frame novel of the book. In We can say that as Anna's personality begins to break down, the boundaries between the notebooks begin to fade. So this was the general comments on the novel, and we will dive into the novel now. And we talk about the preface. I think in our last class we talked about the preface of the novel, but we don't have a preface here in this edition. So I'm planning to share the preface with you so you can read, but I will try to summarize the preface and the Lessing's aim in the preface. In the preface, Lessing makes it clear that Anna separates novel due to the fear of chaos, on of formlessness and of breakdown. Lessings make this clear, and Anna's aim of separating novel. And Golden Notebook brings the divisions together, and the fragmentation ends the unity. The Golden Notebook and when the fragmentation ends, the unity becomes apparent. And Saul and Anna in the novel, they merge with each other and they exchange themes and they create golden notebook, but we cannot separate them, so we don't know which one right, which part, we don't know of this, but they merge with each other, and it is not possible to separate them, we can say. To Lessing, as the writer of this book, breakdown and unity are important themes in the novel. And again, to Lessing, the essence of the book is that we mustn't divide things off. We must not compartmentalize. We mustn't divide. And she wants her novel to commence on conventional genre, and she thinks that writers feel the gap between fact and fiction, and they can't reflect reality. They just reshape reality and eliminate, while reshaping it, they eliminate some parts of it. And in this Free Women part, the first part, the part begins like an conventional novel. The two women were alone in London flat. The point is, said Anna, it is like the kind of conventional novel. And setting and main characters are given. And then Anna says everything is cracking up. And Anna here says that they still define us in terms of relationship with men. Let me find it. They still, yes, here. They still define us in terms of relationship with men, even the best of them. Okay, it's page 5. Okay, here we understand that women are defined according to their relationship with men. And although they are different in their talents, they are still defined with their relationship with men, and she criticized this situation. Free women said, Anna, really. She added with an anger nerve to Molly so that she earned another quick scrutinizing glance from her hand. They still define us in terms of relationship with men, even the best of them. So they, in a way, react this situation. Being defined by men is kind of annoying for them. And Anna and Molly has different characters, we understand. They have different talents. Anna is talented, Molly is worldly wise, and people again see them interchangeable. So we can understand that people do not respect for their identities, and they criticize this situation. And Molly likes wearing in different style, like different roles, unlike Anna, who is always same. And they are indefined as insecure. Yes, they are defined as insecure or unrooted, and by Mother Sugar. And Mother Sugar is a kind of therapist here, and they go and they think about her suggestions. They are defined as insecure and unrooted by Mother Sugar, and they accept this situation. And Anna thinks it is normal to feel like this in this fast changing world. It's normal to feel like insecure and unrooted. They were both insecure and unrooted words which dated from the era of Mother Sugar. They both freely acknowledge. But Anna had recently been learning to use these words in a different way, not as something to be apologized for, but as flags or banners for an attitude that amounted to a different philosophy. So she had enjoyed fantasies of saying to Molly, we have had the wrong attitude to the whole thing. It is Mother Sugar's fault. What is this security and balance that is supposed to be so good? What's wrong with living emotionally from hand to mouth in a world that is changing as fast as is. So although Mother Sugar uses it in a kind of maybe negative sense, they think that it is normal to feel like, and I feel that it's normal to feel like in this world, it is normal to feel insecure and unrooted. So it's not negative, it's normal. And in the novel, we have Marion Richards' new wife. Marion Richard was ex-husband of Molly, and he is married to Marion now. But they're kind of friends. While Marion and other women must take care of their children, men like Richard, they are free. So society didn't expect them to just take care of their children as the society expect from women characters. Although Molly expects a kind of emotional support from Richard, all he thinks is material. So Richard and Molly, although they were married in the past and they were divorced long years ago, they're kind of friends, and they have a son, Tommy. So they see each other and they're kind of friends. And Molly expects a kind of emotional support from Richard, but all he thinks is material. And we understand that men and women think differently. And Richard is a kind of conservative person in the novel, unlike Molly and Anna, who are kind of leftist and kind of free women, try to be free. And Richard is a rich person, as his name suggests, he's a rich person, and he finds them ignorant about economics. So there is a kind of conflict between Richard and Molly and Anna. They have different expectation and different values in life. Richard is a kind of successful and wealthy businessman. He is firmly rooted in the system, the capitalism and social status and order. He is a man of system, as a rich person. He is practical and a kind of controlled man, and he is emotionally distant. And he criticized Molly and Anna in the novel, but they see each other a lot. They're kind of friends, as I said. But Lessing intentionally choose this kind of different characters to create a kind of conflict in the novel. And we can say that Richard's relationship with Anna, Tommy, and Molly uh, just opened the doors to conflict between different worldviews. We said that Richard is the man of the system, and Anna and Molly are different characters. They are just leftists. They want to be free. They have kind of radical ideas. So Lessing just confronts these different characters. As Anna and Molly are not married women, they are kind of single women. They are free, and men perceive them open to their desire. So this is also a problem in the society. If women are kind of free and diverse, they are perceived as open to the desire for of men, and their being free is perceived as easy sex partner for male figures, which is disturbing. And Richards even wants to have sex with Molly when Marion, his wife, his present wife, is at hospital giving birth to their child. So this is the result of their being free women and the society's negative and problematic approach to the women characters. As I said, Richard wants to have sex with Molly, his ex-wife, when his present wife Marion is at hospital and giving birth to their child. And Richards even normalized his relationship with other women. And Except from this, we have Tommy. Tommy is also their son, Richard and Molly's son. And he is a kind of figure who is searching for himself. And his relationship to Anna and Molly and Richard, in fact, give us lots of clues about their relationship. Tommy thinks that Anna and Molly are not defined with their jobs. They aren't just one thing. Let me find the quotation. Okay, here, page 31. Okay, people like, yes, this is Tommy's words. What I mean is, I would rather be. Well, he floundered and was silent at a moment, moving his lips together, frowning. I have been thinking about because I knew I would have to explain to you, he said, his patiently quiet, prepared to meet his parents' unjust demands. People like Anna or Molly that a lot are not just one thing, but several things. And you know they could change and be something different. I don't mean that. I don't mean their characters would change, but they haven't set into mold. You know, if something happened in the world, there was a change of some kind, a revolution or something. He waited a moment patiently for Richard's sharply irritated, indrawn breath over the word revolution to be expanded and went on. They would be something different if they had to be, but you will never be different, father. You will always have to live the way you do. Well, I don't want that for myself, he concluded, allowing his lips to set, putting over his finished explanation. Okay, and he says, you are going to be very unhappy, said Molly almost mournfully. So, Tommy thinks that Anna and Molly are not defined with their jobs. They are not just one thing, but several things, which means they can adapt into new situations in life. However, Richard is just defined with his job. He cannot change, so he just says, you will always have to live the way you do now. So he criticized this. He will always be same to Tommy. And Anna and Molly do not have just one identity, but Richard have one. And so there's a kind of conflict of values between Richard and Tommy. They represent a deep generational and ideological conflict in the notebook, in the Golden Notebook. Tommy, although Richard's a successful, wealthy businessman, he's the system of the man, and he's practically controlled and kind of uh, rich man, and he just follows the pattern in society. Tommy rejects his father's values, and he sees Richard's words as empty and meaningless. So he criticizes his father's values, and he struggles to find an alternative way to live. So he's a kind of searcher in the novel, Tommy, I mean. And Tommy criticizes everything Richard stands for. But although uh, Richard is financial and socially dependent on the very system he rejects. So we can say that he cannot accept Richard's worldview, but he cannot fully escape it, as he just have to live with the thing that Richard offers, with the money that Richard gives. So he is dependent on Richard in a way, but he also criticizes Richard's way of living. So the relationship is not just kind of personal, it's kind of uh, a, a kind of tension in the novel, we can say. Richard uh, just represents the stability in the novel, and at the same time post-war success in the novel, and materialist values in the novel, while Tommy is refers to or represents disillusionment and rebellion and search for meaning in the novel. So Lessing uses this dynamic to show how younger generations often feel trapped between rejecting the old system and at the same time not having a clear new one to replace it. And also, we will see Anna and Tommy's relationship, which is a kind of intellectual connection. We will see this later on. We'll talk about this later. And Tommy explains Anna and his conversation on politics and writing. Anna finds politicians lying as a terrible situation, and she has some kind of disgust and futility feelings in her words. And she doesn't spread her feelings by writing openly. And Anna finds her notebooks chaotic. That's why she hides them. Anna, although she was writing her notebooks, she doesn't want to show her notebooks to other people because she thinks they are really chaotic and it will affect people negatively. And she questions art's sufficiency in reflecting reality in a chaotic world. She questions um, how art is sufficient enough to reflect the chaos of the world, which is kind of modernist aspect. And Anna feels herself morally weak and as well to the point of nearly having an affair with Richard. She thinks she's a kind of morally weak person. She was about to have a kind of affair with Richard, although she really doesn't like people like Richard. And she questions binary oppositions, men, women. Let me find the quotation. Okay, here. And allowed men, women, bond, free, good, bad, yes, no, capitalism, socialism, sex, love. Okay. She questions these binary oppositions, and here we can understand that there is a kind of intellectual and a connection among Anna and Tommy. They share a deep intellectual and emotional connection in the novel. Anna is a kind of mentor figure for Tommy, and she listens to Tommy seriously, and she validates his doubts about society. And also, she encourages questioning and critical thinking. And with Anna, we can say that Tommy feels understood in a way he doesn't with his parents. And both characters, we can say, both Anna and Tommy share a kind of inner fragmentation, and they distrust political system. Both Tommy and Anna distrust political systems and ideologies, and they feel that reality is broken or incoherent. And both Anna and Tommy search for meaning and wholeness in life, but they cope differently. Both of them search for meaning, but they cope differently. We can say that Anna managed this through writing and reflection, while Anna tries to manage chaos by writing and reflection. Tommy becomes overwhelmed and emotionally unstable. Yeah, Tommy has kind of problems and he commits suicide, but he doesn't die. He just loses his eyesight and he becomes blind. So he tries to cope with the chaos in a different way, but both of them share a kind of fragmentation. So Anna can help Tommy to think, but not live, we can say. So this is the limitation of the help she offers. She offers insight, but not solutions. She opens questions, but cannot provide direction for Tommy. So Tommy absorbed the doubts of Tommy, but lacks the tool, to handle them. And Tommy's suicide, which is a kind of event that we will later read, but I will just want to talk about this. Tommy's suicide attempt become a turning point for Anna. Um, we will talk about this later on, this suicide attempt. Okay, then. Anna here says that she tells her disappointment about Communist Party. Anna talks about her disappointment about Communist Party and the rumors about Stalin. They are denied by some members while others accept this. So Anna feels disappointment in her political experience. And she had been Michael's mistress. She thinks they must admit the failure in love, men, and politics. And in her big room, Anna can be herself. You find this part. Yes, here. It was about the time she had been in Africa. At that time, before the Congress, there was described in our circles what with this plot that Yugoslavia satellite. So happened that I met them in connection with what they naturally referred as cultural matters with condensation. At that time, I similar types were spreading a lot of time, fighting inside the party, and a naive lot were we trying to persuade people it was much better to admit that things stand in Russia to deny. Well, I suddenly got letters from all three of them independently, of course. They didn't know any of them. The others had written very stern. They were and rumors to the effect there was a dirty work in Moscow, and ever had been that of father Stalin had ever put a wrong foot wrong were spread by enemies of working class. So this part reflects her disappointment about Communist Party, and there was rumors about Stalin, and although some people deny these rumors, some people accept this, and this political experience were disappointing was for Anna. And on the other page, on the next quotation, frontiers of war. Yes. Okay. An old woman came in once. Money trickled in irregularly from her money trickled in irregularly from her only novel. Yes, Anna, you know, in the novel is a writer, and she has a novel, a published novel. Its name is Frontiers of War, and this Frontiers of War was once a bestseller novel, and she still earns money uh, to just live on her life. And Anna, we can say that divided herself through her notebooks, and Frontiers of Love was her novel in the novel. And we will talk about the black notebook parts. Yes, the notebooks. This was Free Women part. It was the frame novel, and we will have frame novels and the notebooks inside the frame novels. The four notebooks were identical, about 18-inch square with shiny covers like the texture of a cheap watered silk, but the colors distinguished them: black, red, yellow, and blue. When the covers were laid back, exposing the four first pages, it seemed that the order had not immediately imposed itself. In each, the first page or two short broken scribblings and half sentences. Then a title appeared, as if Anna had almost automatically divided herself into four, and then, from the nature of what she had written, named these divisions. Okay, she divided herself, not just notebooks, but also she divided herself, her identity, into four notebooks. And this is what had happened. The first book, the black notebook, began with dawdling, scattered musical symbols, treble signs, and shifted in wing and back again, and a completed design of an interlocking circles. Then words black dark, so dark it's dark. There's a kind of darkness there, and then it changed, started writing. So this is the black notebook part in the beginning of the notebooks. Every time I sit down to write, let my mind go easy. The word is so dark, or something to do with darkness. Terror, the terror of this city, for being alone. Only one thing stops me from jumping up and screaming or running to the telephone to ring somebody. It is so deliberately think myself back into the hot light. White light, closed, and the red light, but hot on the eyeballs. So the first page of this notebook includes some descriptions of Africa and letters from friends in Africa. This black notebook, it refers to the experiences she had in Africa, and they are written under the title of the source. Under the division of money, she writes record of money. She takes from her book and translations of book, and she also writes some notes about ideas of filmmakers, about film versions of her novel. So in the Black Notebook part, uh, we read her experiences in Africa and descriptions about Africa and letters from friends in Africa. And she writes these things about Africa under the title of Black Notebook. And there's a division about money, and about money, and that in this division she writes the records of money she takes from her book, she earns from her book, and translations of her book. It was a bestseller, so she earns money from her book. She also writes some notes about ideas of filmmakers. There are some filmmakers who wants to create a film version of her novel. So she writes about these ideas um, in this part. Two changing. Let me find the part. The novel has become. Yes, the novel has become a function of fragmented society, the fragmented consciousness. Human beings, let me highlight this. The novel has become function of fragmented society, fragmented consciousness. Human beings are so divided, are becoming more and more divided and more subdivided themselves, reflecting the world, and they reach out desperately, not knowing they do it, for information about other groups inside their own country, let alone about groups in other countries. It's a blind grasping out for their own wholeness. The novel report is a means towards it. So the novel is a means towards this, expressing this. Inside this country, Britain, middle class has no knowledge of the lives of working people, and vice versa. And reports and articles and novels are sold across frontiers, are read as if savage tribes were being investigated. Those fishermen in Scotland were a different species from the coal miners I seen in Yorkshire, and both come from a different world and the housing estate outside London. So the novel has become a function of fragmented society and fragmented consciousness. So it's the function of the novel is changing. It means people read novels in order to learn information about different words for her, and she cannot write a novel which includes intellectual or moral passion strong enough to create order, to create a new way of looking at life. So she criticizes herself as she cannot write that kind of a novel. She says, yet I am incapable of writing the only kind of novel which interests me, a book powered on intellectual and moral passion, strong enough to create order, create a new way of looking at life, because I am too diffused. So, as a writer who has a writing block, she criticizes herself and her capabilities at the same time. And she says, I have decided never to write another novel. Okay, so we see her thoughts about novel, writing a novel in her writer's block. And she cannot write a novel which includes intellectual and moral passion strong enough to create order and create a new way of looking at her life. And she remembers the period when she writes her first novel, which was successful in the past. She shaped it through and made it a story instead of writing reality as it is. While writing her novel Frontiers of War, she shaped the truth and made it a kind of transform it in a kind of story instead of writing reality as it is. She thinks her novel as immoral due to the lying nostalgia it includes. So she doesn't like and she doesn't appreciate her first novel at the same time. And here she remembered her days in Africa, and colonialism is said to be a war against Hitler's idea of racism. However, it turns out to be based on racism itself. At the first, colonialism uh, is said to be a war against Hitler's idea of racism. However, colonialism is based on racism itself. So, colonialism is fed on racism. So, and Anna came to the colony voluntarily. She prefers to just participate the colony in Africa voluntarily. Although she hates the country, she doesn't leave. Um, she accepts that she become communist because communist people had a moral energy. So she wasn't a communist as she feels communist. She was communist because she thinks that communist people had a moral energy. That's why she was a communist once upon a time. And she thought that communist people were against racism, and it has a kind of moral aspect. That's why she was communist. But in fact, she will be disappointed by the communist values at the same time. And here at the same time, there was a kind of reference to the really, let me find it. I'm not sure if I can. No, I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. As a writer, she finds words insufficient to describe a personality, and to her, as a writer, words are meaningless. And morality in art occupies her mind, and she wants to describe reality to her readers. She wants to succeed this. And there was a character she uses in her novel, Paul. Yes, this part. Paul Blackenhurst. Yeah, Paul is the person. Paul and Willie is the person she uses in her novel for the character of young pilot. And this character is full of anticism and idealism. And she also remembers her friends Jimmy and Ted, who are other two pilots. And Ted was the only real socialist person, and there were problems in the party. She remembers her past times when she was in Africa. They had a party discussion about racism, and they intended to fight with Africans against racism. However, there weren't black trade unions, and white trade unions behave hostile to African peoples due to keeping their privileges. Although they agree on the solution in principle, in practice they cannot succeed anything. Their ideals cannot be realized. This part includes lots of details about her time in Africa. Yes, Mashopi Hotel. There was a hotel in in 1953, spent all morning trying to remember myself back into sitting under trees in the Ville near Mashpee, failed. This hotel has a kind of weird, relaxing atmosphere. It makes them think as a symbol of all sort of luxury. Yes, this part. We made jokes about Masopi Hotel and its sinister, relaxing influences. We use it as a symbol for every sort of luxury, decadence, and weak-mindedness. Our friends who hadn't been out there but who knew it was an ordinary roadside hotel waits said we were mad. A month after our first visit, there was long weekend, and from Thursday night to the following Wednesday in the colony, they looked their holidays seriously, and we made up a party to go again. It consisted of the original six and Tat's new Pratt, and Stanley left from Manchester, for whose sake he later failed himself as a pilot, and Johnny and Jess Pines and Stanley's friend, who also arranged George should meet us there. We got ourselves there by car and by train, and by time the bar closed on Thursday night, it was clear that this weekend would be very different from the last. So this hotel and the hotel in Africa, it was a weird, relaxing atmosphere and makes them think it was a symbol for every sort of luxury, decadence, and weak-mindedness. And here we have Paul who makes fun of Mrs. Booty's colonial cliches, and she sees blacks like a child. She doesn't approve English boys having fancy ideas about Kafirs. So there are lots of stories about, and here, yes, Kafirs. Okay, and we have a character, Miss Baroti here. Miss Booty, not Baroti, sorry. Miss Booty. Yes, Miss Booty. Okay. So here Paul makes fun of Miss Beauty's colonial cliches. She sees blacks like a child and she doesn't approve English boys and having some kind of fancy ideas about Kafirs. And Mary Rose, we have another character. Mary Rose was honest about incest and she loves his brother, and if a person goes mad, this person will break down into her or his components. So here, disintegration and collapse dominate the novel genre to Anna. So these details about Africa and the people and the characters, in order to understand this part, you need to read because it's not possible for me to give every detail about the novel. And Paul and Tat, and they will discuss about something about proletariat, and they plan to inform people about their class in order to start an uproar. So here, while they were in Africa, they try to raise an awareness in African people. They want make them to uh, revolt, but they cannot. So she was talking about these people. And here she had friends, Paul and Ted. They are other colonist people, and they had no connection with each other. They didn't even quarrel. As for me, I played the role of the leader's girlfriend as a sort of cement and ancient role indeed. And of course, in any of my relationship with these people, had any depth, I would have been disruptive and conciliatory. And there was Mary Rose, who was unattainable beauty. And so, what was this group? What held it together? And it was, I think it was the impossible dislike and fascination for each other of Paul and Willie, who were so much like when bound to such different features. So she describes her friend, the group in Africa, and she gives information about them, the Paul, Willie, and also Ted and Mary Rose. She talks about them. And Paul and Ted, they will discuss about some blacks from proletariat, and they plan to inform that about their class in order to start a kind of uproar in Africa. But they were not aware of, the African people were not aware of their situation. And in the novel, married men have mistress and they like security of marriage, but at the same time they have affairs. And George has a mistress. The group in Africa, George is one of them. George has a mistress in the novel. George mistress is the wife of Butby's cook, an African woman. Although they go there for kind of some kind of ideals, they just have fun and they have mistress there. So it's kind of problematic maybe. It's open to discussion at the same time. And George has a mistress. It's the wife of Booty's cook, an African woman. And to Anna, George put his wife into cage, and Anna resents George's mistress being black. And most of the married women in the part have affairs with some young men. And the events Anna remembers are from 20 years earlier. These are past events, and she tries to remember those events. And the present Anna and the past Anna will choose different events in order to remember. So these are just her past memories about Africa. And Paul's close relationship with Black Jackson makes Mrs. Booty angry. So we see the racist ideas of people here. Although they were communist and they were expected to behave people equally, they were racist at the same time. And her relationship with Willie, she has a relationship with Willie, is not based on sexuality. And Anna would say Willie, the present Anna would say Willie, since he doesn't satisfy her, she has right to choose another man. And she believes equality in choosing a partner in sex. And also in the novel, we have Jackson. And although Jackson earns little money and lives in a small cottage, he is in fact in a much better condition than other Africans. Yes, Jackson. Paul punished her by taking her at the word. He would be at the back door of kitchen until time Jax withdrew of her go after lunch, and Jackson's cottage talking with head on the man's arm shoulder, and this contact between black and white flesh was deliberate to provoke any white person that might be watching. We didn't go near catching it because we were in a mood of high childishness, and we would giggle and talk about Miss Putty like children talking about hat mistress. It seems extraordinary to me that we were capable of so childish, and we didn't care that we were hurting her. She had become an aborigine because she resented Paul's friendship with Jackson, which is also racist because Jackson is black. Yet we knew quite well there wasn't a white person in the colony who wouldn't have resented it. In our political roles, we were capable of infinite patience and understanding and explaining to some white person why their racial attitudes were inhuman. So this part is also important because it gives such much clues about racism. And um, we can say that white people destroy here Bushman paintings, which is a cultural value in Africa. So they do not show respect to African people. We now see that rock we was set at the mouth of small cave was its black was covered with Bashman paintings. So these paintings they were fresh and glowing even in faint light, but badly chipped. All this part of the country was covered with this painting, but most were ruined because of the white offs near thrift stones and not knowing their value. So uh, these white people are not respectful to the other peoples, to the African people's value, their cultural values. This is colonialism, the effect of colonialism. And Anna calls them at white offs, white offs. So these people, although they were there for their communist purpose, which were supposed to be equal to people, they were in fact racist. And their approach to the African people is just diminishing their values, their cultural values. They ruin their Bashman paintings, which is a cultural value in Africa. And her relationship with Willie ends with sex, since Willie probably is jealous of existence of another man. So we learn her relationship with Willie and her past and the existence of another man. So the situations in Africa. All she tells about Africa was her material for her novel, Frontiers of War. She uses her experiences in Africa as a material for her novel, Frontiers of War. She uses these notes to write her novel. All these notes are used to write her novel, Frontiers of War. And she earns money from her book, and she finds her novel full of nostalgia, although she thought it was objective at the time she wrote it. When she was writing Frontiers of War about Africa, she thought it was objective, but in fact, it is not. Anna of that time, couldn't find it that time. Yes, this part. And of page 115. And of that time is like an enemy, like an old friend. No one has to, no one has known too well and doesn't want to see. Okay. The second notebook, the red. Before that, she finds her novel full of nostalgia, and uh, while she wrote that novel in the past, she thought it was like an objective novel. It reflects the situation in Africa objectively. When she thinks about the novel and the time she spent there again, the present Anna thinks that Anna of that time is like an enemy, like an old friend. One has known too well and one doesn't want to see. So the past Anna and the present Anna has a kind of conflict. When she read her novel today for the first time since she writes it, it is full of nostalgia, every word loaded with it. All the time I wrote it, I thought it was being objective. Nostalgia for what? I don't know. But I would rather die than have to live through any of that thing again. Okay. So when she reads her novel again, second time since it was written, she doesn't appreciate herself. And then this notebook, the red one, begins here, the second notebook. The red one had begun without any hesitations at all. The British Communist Party was written across the first page, underlined twice, and the date, January 3rd, 1950, sat underneath. And here, although she doesn't believe in honesty of Communist Party, she has same ideas against Communist Party. She again thinks to join it. Last week, Modi came up at midnight said that party members had been circulated with a form asking for their history as members, and there was a section asking them to detail their doubts and confusions. Molly said she had begun to write this, expecting to write a few sentences, had found herself writing a whole thesis, dozens of bloody pages. She seemed upset with herself. Okay. Anyway, since I have written it, I'm going to send it. I told her she was mad, and I said, supposing the British Communist Party ever gets into the power, and the document will be in the files, and if they want evidence to hang you, they have got it thousands of times over. Okay. So here we understand that although Anna doesn't believe in honesty of Communist Party because she thinks that if they want to hang you, they have the clue because you give them the necessary document. Although they want you to write it, it is possible that they use it against you. So she doesn't trust them. So she doesn't believe in honesty of Communist Party, and she has same ideas about Communist Party. But again, she thinks to join it. Due to the Comrade Bill's attitudes, she joins the party. There is a Comrade Bill, because of his attitude. Yes, here, Comrade Bill. On the same day, I have a telephone call from Comrade John saying that he heard that I was joining the party, that Comrade Bill responsible for culture would like to interview me. You don't have to see them in of you don't feel like it. So here, although she doesn't believe and she doesn't trust Communist Party, she just joined the Communist Party. And due to the Bill's attitude, she joins the party. There are rumors about intellectuals since they drift in and out the party, as she's also an intellectual writer. And there were rumors about intellectuals as they drift in and out the party. It is said that the party members do not like writers. And like Anna, Molly joins to the party in spite of herself. And she can't share her genuine ideas about politics with the people in the party. She can just share them with people who left the party. So this is also problematic because they cannot share their real ideas about the party. She just share their ideas with the people who left the party. During the dinner with John, she shares her ideas with Soviet Union and openly. However, John went into an automatic defense of. Yes, John went into kind of automatic. He had lunch. She had lunch with John first time since I joined the party and began talking as do with my ex-party friends. Frank acknowledged of what is going on in Soviet Union. And John went to the automatic defense of Soviet Union, very irritating. And yet this evening had dinner with Joyce, New Statesman circles, and she started attack Soviet Union. And instantly I found myself doing the automatic defense of Soviet Union act, which I can't stand when other people do it. So she criticized the situation that she sees, she observes in other people. She does the same defense when she has dinner with Joyce. As a communist, she is expected to behave in certain ways. Um, Although inside her, she doesn't believe this kind of ideas. When she was with other people outside the circle of communists, she begins to behave in a certain way that party expects her to behave. And also, Anna here explains about Jack Briggs, which is a journalist, who is a journalist on Times. She mentions about journalist Jack Briggs' case, and his essay was rejected by a quasi leftist newspaper since it was communist in tone. And Briggs was thought to be an agent of a capitalist spy. However, when other respectable newspaper begins to publish articles similar to the Briggs about China, he was invited to write an article, but he rejected the offer, and he was depressive and in a bad mood. To Anna, that story, that is the story of intellectuals who are communists or near communists. And she realizes that uh, she doesn't write much about this notebook. And the reason is what she writes about the party is, in fact, she criticizes it. And despite her these ideas, she and Molly are still in the party. So they criticize the party in their mind, but they are still in a party. And they learn that one of Michael's friends hanged in Prague. He feels terrible. Okay. And here, Rosenbergs. They are electrocuted. Michael's friends hanged in Prague. He feels terrible, and Rosenberg's electrocuted. Anna helps petition, but except from party members, and intellectuals, no one thinks due to the atmosphere of the country. So the atmosphere of the country is really dark. So they are afraid of signing the petition, and people feel tight, suspicious, and frightened. We said that lots of people were uh, just sent to the prison, some of them executed because of the problem and a party after death of Stalin. And while he was alive, there was the same problems, and people learned this after his death. The atmosphere of this country has changed dramatically in the last 2 or 3 years. People feel tight, suspicious, and frightened. And people hanged with the accusation of being traitor to communism. They hanged people, as they say, yeah, you are traitor to communism, and they hang people. And she feels disgust. Anna feels disgust. On the one side, she is ready to defend the party against the people like editor Rex. And on the other hand, she thinks about leaving the party. And she realizes that when you join the party, you can meet just communists or former communists. And she feels isolated due to this. She plans to leave the party, but she doesn't know time or the excuse she will have. So after this kind of situation, she feels in between, because they accuse people and hang people as they are against the party or they are traitor to communism. And she feels disgust. And so she's in between. On the one hand, she wants to defend the party, but on the other hand, she was against the politics of the party. Uh, and she understands that as she joined the party, she just can have relationship with the people just inside the party or the former party members, former communists. So she feels isolated because her circle is really limited to the communist and former communist people. And Anna criticized the situation. And yes, here she says, I wrote yesterday, I would leave the party. I wonder when and what issue. And she feels really isolated. Okay. It's part page 121. Anna criticized the situation in Prague. However, John thinks that despite some mistakes of the party, it doesn't violate the rules deliberately. So John defends the party here, and she had dinner with John, and he defends the party. And she realized that somewhere on the back of my mind, when I joined the party, I was in need for wholeness, she says. Wholeness. I was in need for wholeness. She realizes something about, yes, here. I came home thinking I was somewhere at the back of my mind. When I joined the party, I was needed for wholeness, for an end to split, divided, unsatisfactory way we live. And joining the party intensified the split, not business of belonging to an organization whose every tenet on paper anyway contradicts the ideas of society we live in, but something much deeper than that, or at any rate, more difficult to understand. I try to think about it. My brain kept swimming in blackness. I got confused and exhausted. Michael came in very late, and I told him what I was trying to think out. So, she tries to attain wholeness. That's why she joined the party. But contrary to what she expects, joining the party just intensified the split in herself. So it doesn't help to feel uh, belonging to somewhere. And when Anna and Michael visits Berlin, we feel disappointed. Michael wants to find his friends. Michael is her boyfriend here. Michael wants to find his friends who can be anywhere due to the war. However, he was behaved in a hostile manner by his friends because they think Michael is friend of an hanged man in Prague. So they think he was a traitor. And Iron accused Michael of wearing expensive clothes. And in fact, he didn't. And Michael feels disappointed. Communism we cannot be for this society in which Iron accuses him for his clothes. So they go to Berlin with Michael, and he was searching for his old friends in this Persian war. And when they were in Berlin, when he was in Michael in Berlin, uh, they feel really disappointed. And they were behaved, Michael were behaved uh, here. This part. This part. And she accused him, and she behaves him as a kind of she accused him because of his expensive clothes, but he didn't in fact, and he feels really disappointed. And they behave Michael in a hostile manner because of some of his friends, and they think that Michael is friend of hanged man in Prague who was a traitor. What are you doing, comrade? Wearing the expensive suit. Michael's clothes were always off the pack. She spends nothing on clothes, he said. But Iron, it's the cheapest suit I could buy in London. Her face snapped shut into suspicion. She glanced at her companions and sort of from. She said, "Why do you come here spreading that capitalist poison? We know you are in rags and there are no consumer goods." Michael was at first stunned, then he said, still with irony, then even Lenin had understood the possibility that a newly established communist society might suffer from a shortage of consumer goods, whereas England, which, as I think you know, Iron, is a very solid capitalist society, is quite well equipped with consumer goods. So he understands that communism cannot be for this society in which even Iron accuses him for his clothes. And Anna realized that all party members write or plan to write a literary work which seems strange. And the reason is that they use literature to transmit their political thoughts. And uh, in fact, the Communist Party is largely composed of people who aren't political at all, but who have a powerful sense of service. Find it. Yes, this part. She learns that lots of people in a party write, or they are planning to write a literary work, which seems strange, and they use literature to transmit as a vehicle to transmit their political thoughts. The Communist Party is largely composed of people who aren't really political at all, but who have a powerful sense of service. And there are those who are lonely, and the party is their family. The poet Paul, who got drunk last week and said he was sick and disgusted with the party, but he joined it in 1935, and if he left, he would be living his whole life. So here we end the part about red notebook, and we will talk about the yellow notebook. It looked like a manuscript of a novel, for it was called The Shadow of the Third. It certainly began like a novel. So this part is like a novel. It was manuscript of a novel, her present novel maybe. And Julia's voice came out loud up the stairs. Ella, aren't you going to the party? Are you going to use bath? If not. So Anna is Ella here. And Molly is Julia here. And Michael and Paul, they are lovers. They stand for lovers. In each case, she has a lover. And Michael in the red book, and Paul in the black book, and here Michael or Paul stands for lovers, and Ella refers to Anna, and Julia refers to Molly. And as child, Janet and Michael, we have child, ex-husbands, Max and Willie, and stand for George. So we have same characters but different names, as we talked about this before. Same characters structure, but their names are different. The Shadow of the Third refers to the name of the novel. And Ella is the character, normally refers to Anna. She works for a women's magazine, and Julia is an actress, and men behave them in a banal way, and women envy them. And her fictional character is Ella. Ella is also a kind of communist. Despite being not a member of the party, she is a communist character. And the theme of Ella's novel is suicide here. And she thinks that she would commit suicide when she finds that she's about to jump out of the window. And then she realizes that she wants to commit suicide. That is all she wants. So suicide is the theme of her novel. The intention to commit suicide grows in time. That is the theme of this part. Her novel frightens her, and she's suspicious of her intention of suicide. And maybe she decided to commit suicide, and she knows that her novel would no good for its readers. However, she convinced herself by saying that I write for myself. So although it was intended to be her new novel, uh, as the focus of the novel is suicide, she just think that this novel won't be good for readers, and then she just say, I do not for my readers, I just write for myself. Ella feels sorry for the unhappy woman who sent her letters. And name of the magazine, we said that she works in a magazine, and some women, unhappy women, send her letters. And name of the magazine is The Woman at Home. Woman at Home. Yes. This woman at home, was angled toward working class women and hadn't even a pretense of cultural tone. This magazine Women sent letters to this magazine, and none of the women. Name of the magazine is Women at Home, which was aimed to attract women from working class without a claim of culture. And here in this part, she had sex with Paul, and after sex, Paul questions Ella's past, and he tries to categorize whether she is a whore or a mother model, which is a kind of cliche in most of male's mind. Whore or kind of mother model. I don't find it yet. Okay, we said that he tries to categorize Ella, and Paul finds Ella wise because she doesn't marry. Yes, she doesn't marry, and he warns her and says that she should stay single. Although he has been married for 13 years, Paul, he says that, and although he has various love affairs and he has been married for 13 years, he says marriage is a trap and a place of security for him. And Paul doesn't care whether Ella sleeps with other men or not. And Ella here questions love, and she thinks it belongs to women magazines. So what is love? And she understands that love just belongs to the women magazine. It does not a word of word for male. And Anna writes the themes she would use if she writes this novel. And main motive would be Paul's wife, and the second motive would be Paul's jealousy, and then secondary motives would be Ella's novel and Julia motive, and Ella's maternal love, and then Paul's attitude to his profession. And here, to Paul, Ella and he are boulder pushers. Yes, he says we are both boulder pushers. This is phrase for what he sees as his own failure. His fight to get out of his poor background, to win scholarship, to get the highest medical degrees, came out an ambition to be a creative scientist. But he know what he will never be this original scientist, he says. And he says, Ella, you and I, Ella, we are the failures. We spend our lives fighting to get people very slightly more stupid than ourselves to accept truths that the great men have always known. They have known for thousands of years to lock a sick person in solitary confines make him worse. But they have known for thousands of years a poor man who is frightened of his landlord of the politic is a slave. They have known it, we know it, but we do great enlightened mass other British people know it. No, it's our task, Ella. So he just comments on this situation. They are boulder pushers. So the boulder is the truth. He explains his idea about this boulder pusher. They spend their time and energy to fight to get people very slightly more stupid than themselves to accept the truth that the great men have always known. So Anna sees clearly her own relationship with Michael through Ella and Paul's relationship. And Anna, as the writer of the Free Women, Anna sees clearly as our main character in the frame novel, sees clearly her own relationship through her fictional character, Ella and Paul's relationship. And Anna gives the name of her real lover, Michael, to Ella's son. and she couldn't see the end of her relationship like Ella. And yet I, Anna, like Ella, she says. Yes, here. And yet I, Anna, like Ella with Paul, refuse to see it. Paul gave birth to Ella, she says. The naive Ella, he destroyed her knowing, doping, sophisticated Ella, and again. So here she says, yet Anna, like Ella with Paul, refused to see it. Paul gave birth to Ella, the naive Ella. So Paul calls her as his mistress, and he thinks men are unnecessary and women do not need men. He says, I am mad. So Anna finds it difficult to write about sex. It is something emotional for women. Until she writes about it, she didn't think about how it was between Michael and herself. And to Ella, Paul has a divided personality. And women in general do not like talking about sex with men, unlike men who are really comfortable about talking about sex. And Paul categorized his wife as a good mother and a simple woman, and Ella as his mistress, a snob and a different person. So man and women relationship is the main focus here. And Paul doesn't respect Ella and finds her snob. She's snob, but he openly says, Ella, you are my mistress, not my wife. Why do you want me to share all the serious business of life with you? Ella was angry. Every night you lie in my bed and tell me everything. I am your wife, as she said. She knew she was singing the warrant for the end. It seemed a terrible cowardice that she didn't say it before. He reacted with a small offended love and gesture of withdrawal. Ella finished her novel and it's accepted for publication. So it's the fictional character of Anna. She knows it's quite good novel, nothing very startling. As she was, if she were to read, she would report it was small, honest novel. But Paul reads it and reacts with elaborate sarcasm. So the man and woman relationship. Okay, we will finish in 5 minutes probably. And so, man and woman relationship is problematic here. And when she learns Paul comes back to England, she wears nice clothes and waits for him, despite knowing that he wouldn't come. She knows this is mad, but again, she waits due to her naivety and stupidity. And Anna analyzed the problem in this story. She can't find any other way to write it. She eliminates some parts and emphasizes other parts. She reshaped it. And literature to Anna, Ella finished her book here. Literature is analysis after event. Anna says that. Is the analysis after the event. Okay. Her first novel includes nostalgia. This one has pain. The form of other piece about what happened in Mashopi is nostalgia. There is no nostalgia in this piece, but about Paul and Anna, but the form is a kind of pain. Her fictional novel, this one, is kind of, it doesn't include nostalgia, but one pain. And to her, literature is the kind of analysis that you can have after an event. To show a woman loving a man, one should show her cooking a meal for him or opening a bottle of of wine for the meal while she waits for his ring at the door, or waking in the morning before he does to see his face change from calm of sleep in a smile of welcome. Yes, to be repeated 1,000 times, but that's not literature. Probably better as film. Yes, the physical quality of life, that is living, not the analysis afterwards or the moments of discord and premonition. As shot in film, Ella slowly peeling an orange, handing Paul yellow segments of the fruit, which he takes one after another, thoughtfully, frowning. He is singing or something else. Okay, so this part refers to her fictional novels. It was about Ella and the story of Ella and Paul. Its name is Shadow of the Church. So after that, we will continue with Blue Notebook. Uh, and this is all for today. Do you have any questions to ask? Do you have? You need to read the novel as it has a complex structure. It's not possible for me to talk about every detail and giving every details about the novel. You need to read the whole novel. It would be good for you if you read it off. Otherwise, you can have problems about understanding the structure and the meaning in the novel as it has a complex structure. I'm warning you and said you must read the novel line by line in order to understand the structure of the novel. Do you have any questions to ask? Do you have anything to ask? Then see you on Wednesday. Okay? See you on Wednesday.